What's good? It's Woog. Please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you love music like I do. I just went to the Waxahatchee concert at First Congregational Church of Los Angeles. And, I've been a Waxahatchee fan, I'd say probably since her 2013 Cerulean Salt release. I wasn't really up on her the year prior when she dropped American Weekend, her debut, nor was I up on her when she was in that P.S. Eliot group with her sister, Allison Crutchfield. Waxahatchee's real name is Katie Crutchfield. But Waxahatchee has struck me as one of the more fascinating singer-songwriters in that kind of folk, indie folk, almost bordering alt country genre, depending on the album that you're looking at, because I do think that there's been a bit of a trend towards the alt country as her career has progressed. But I went to her concert again at the First Congregational Church of Los Angeles, and I was just hoping that her set list was going to be at least somewhat evenly distributed throughout her albums. And so we're talking between American Weekend and then Cerulean Salt 2013, Ivy Trip 2015, which is my favorite Waxahatchee album. I look at that as being a super underrated album, Ivy Trip 2015. And then she dropped Out in the Storm in 2017. And then most recently, she dropped St. Cloud, which is now probably her most critically acclaimed and just most heralded album to date. In fact, St. Cloud was like a top 10 critically acclaimed album of 2020, to where I think on Metacritic's critical review top 10, it landed. It was on Pitchfork's list for the best albums of 2020. In fact, it was ranked number 2 according to Pitchfork. So that's how critically acclaimed her latest album, St. Cloud, is. I think that it got number 2 in a couple other publications. And I'm talking about really reputable ones. It was number 2 in Paste, number 2 in Stereo Gum. Consequence of Sound had it number 6. Rolling Stone had it at number 7. So we're talking serious business here. She's no longer just flying under the radar like she was around the time of Cerulean Salt and Ivy Trip. But I just wanted the set list to include something from Ivy Trip, something from Cerulean Salt, even Out in the Storm, and maybe even as far back as American Weekend. Well, to my pleasant surprise, the set list was evenly distributed. Now, I didn't do like a song by song playlist, so I can't tell you exactly what it had, but one of my favorite songs from 2015's Ivy Trip, La Luz, she actually included that towards the end of her show. And, whereas St. Cloud was basically about as good as you get in that kind of folky, indie folky singer-songwriter nearing alt country style, Ivy Trip was a little bit more like alt rock. It was a little bit more electronic. Like if you listen to the drum beat machine style of La Luz, or some of the other songs, what was it, Stale by Noon. Like listen to the beat programming on that one. Same thing with Blue. Even the intro, listen to Breathless, the intro to Ivy Trip, and you kind of see the different vibe that I'm getting, and then compare Breathless and La Luz to some of the songs on St. Cloud, like Can't Do Much, or Fire, or Arkadelphia, or the title track, last song of the album, St. Cloud, one of my favorite Waxahatchee songs. St. Cloud, the title song, is just wonderful. It might make a tear come down your face. It's beautiful. And yeah, she did perform a lot of songs from her latest, greatest St. Cloud album. She performed, I think she started the show with Oxbow, which is the intro to St. Cloud. Very good song. She did do Can't Do Much, Fire, War towards the end of the album. And obviously she did do St. Cloud. And actually her voice was giving out just a little bit by the time she got to St. Cloud. And even, when she was singing La Luz, because that one is a little bit faster. But, she did do pretty well, with breath control. She started out the show, guitar in hand, playing along with her musicians. But then about like 6 or 7 songs in, she put the guitar down, and then she performed, I think it was like Peace and Quiet from Cerulean Salt without the guitar in her hands, and she just killed it. It's like her vocal game leveled up even more for that song. And let's just talk about Waxahatchee's vocals. It's a very unique sound, and this is what initially captivated me to her and her music. It was not only the production and the music and the songwriting, but if you listen to just her raw voice, there is a almost like a shrillness to it. Now, I know that the word shrill has not negative connotations, but it is a bit of a scratchy voice. It's not the most like polished, pristine, just clean as a whistle type of voice. It's beautiful in its own way, but it's got that gruffness, that torment, like the person has lived through some things. Not as like howling as a Robert Plant or a Janis Joplin, but it's more in that vein than it is some of the prettier, crystal clear vocals that we hear in a lot of indie rock. Now, a lot of indie rock bands actually don't have strong frontmen or frontwomen. Some of the voices that you hear in indie are, good or just slightly lower than good. I mean, a lot can be hidden within production, reverb, a lot of effects on the vocals, but nah, Waxahatchee, Katie Crutchfield, she's the real deal vocally. Like it didn't take a long time to figure that out when you hear her live. It's like, damn, yeah, that's a special voice. She is a pro. Don't try this at home, kids. Like, you either got that or you don't. But yeah, special voice, but it's got a unique pitch, a unique quality to it. And the venue that this thing was held at, it was an actual like church. It's a big historic church in LA that's also often repurposed on the weekends or weekdays in this case for concerts. And so, her opening act, Katie Kirby, who has a album right now called Cool Dry Place. Katie Kirby was the opener for Waxahatchee, and she even commented between songs like, yeah, this is a little bit intimidating as she's looking at this big old cross on the other side of the, the mosaic-like glass wall, massive wall on the opposite side to where she's sitting. So as we're seated for this concert, we're literally sitting in pews, church pews. So that was the venue, but it allowed for a pretty intimate experience because this wasn't like standing. Everybody was more or less seated until the very end and until Waxahatchee was called on for an encore, which as people started to file out, we started to move up towards some of the nearest pews to the stage. So that was a pretty cool experience. Because again, I've been wanting to see Waxahatchee live for some time, and it was kind of messed up in a weird way. Just timing wise, when Waxahatchee dropped St. Cloud, she dropped it on the week that everything COVID related during the pandemic was shutting down. So this was her first opportunity, right now, to tour her album. Phoebe Bridgers was another big album, big indie album that dropped around that same time where it's like, okay, the artist is about to finally have their big moment. And then everything shuts down. So they got to put it on hold, maybe do a series of concerts via Instagram Live. Remember when all that was happening? Well, Katie Crutchfield, Waxahatchee, is finally able to play her songs in front of an audience from her new spectacular or new-ish spectacular album, St. Cloud. But Katie Kirby also did a really good job opening. I've listened to her album a few times, and yeah, she did her thing. She has a bit more of a typical indie voice, not to say that she just sounds like everybody else, but it's a little bit more along the lines of what you'll hear in most of the indie slash, it's a little, I guess it's folky-ish, but it's more of a dream pop-ish type sound, which there are certain songs by Waxahatchee that kind of lean dream pop as well, but lately, again, more folk, indie folk, alt country, and then Ivy Trip, and even Cerulean Salt. It's a hybrid. It's some folk and it's some more electronics incorporated into some of the songs. So pretty versatile given the genre and subgenres. But yeah, I fully enjoyed this live performance experience. I would definitely recommend catching Waxahatchee live. If you could catch her with her, I think they're still together, Kevin Morby, a very good singer-songwriter, indie artist in his own right. Sometimes, over the past couple years, they've been on stage together and they were doing a lot of their Instagram lives together. Kevin Morby also has a pretty impressive discography, singing pretty good albums like Oh My God, Rock and Roll. His latest, Sundowner, another really good album. But yeah, check out Waxahatchee's music. I would start with Cerulean Salt. If you want to start as early as American Weekend, it's always good to start at the beginning. But I would definitely say listen to Cerulean Salt, listen to Ivy Trip. Out in the Storm, I didn't love as much, but it's kind of growing on me. But obviously, listen to St. Cloud. That's the one that has really elevated her exposure level in the indie landscape. I also got this shirt from the concert, But yeah, support your favorite artists. Buy a hard copy unless you only do the Spotify thing these days. But, you know, if not a hard copy album, then get some of their merch, you know? But yeah, let me know if any of you out there are Waxahatchee fans. If you are, let me know what your favorite album or albums are from Waxahatchee, as well as what are your favorite songs from this latest St. Cloud album. Leave your comments in the comments, and please like the video, subscribe to the channel if you love music like I do. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.